In 1982, an Israeli ambassador told a 32-year-old furniture salesman that he was pitching the completely wrong product.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He told him he shouldn't be selling cupboards to Israelis. He should be selling Israel to Americans.
Wow. And that young salesman was Benjamin Netanyahu.
Exactly. That was Benjamin Netanyahu. But here we are, more than 40 years later, and it really appears that the ultimate salesman had just lost his biggest client.
It's a profound shift. Honestly, we are looking at a fundamental reevaluation of a relationship that has defined global geopolitics for, half a century.
Yeah, totally. So welcome to today's deep dive. Today is July 30, 2026.
Glad to be here.
And our mission today is to unpack a massive stack of recent sources. We want to understand this just seismic shift in American public opinion regarding the Israeli prime minister.
Right, because the numbers are shifting incredibly fast.
They really are. And to figure out the underlying mechanics of how we got here, we're drawing from a brand new Economist YouGov poll, a report from the Times of Israel, a really highly detailed Atlantic article by Franklin Foer, and some incredibly spirited debates we pulled from the 538 and Geopolitics Reddit communities.
Yeah, the sheer volume of data we have to synthesize today, it paints a very complex, very fractured picture of American foreign policy.
It does. But before we get into it, I want to take a quick pause to say something directly to you, the listener.
Oh, this is important.
Yeah. This deep dive contains highly politically charged content from both the left and the right. We want to be crystal clear here. We are not taking sides, nor are we endorsing any of the viewpoints in these sources.
Exactly.
Our job is simply to impartially report the data and, convey the ideas contained in the original material so you have the full picture.
I'm really glad you brought that up because our only goal today is to map the terrain of public opinion, not to dictate how anyone should, feel about it.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with a data point that, honestly, even 3 years ago would have been considered completely unthinkable by most foreign policy analysts.
It really would have been laughed out of the room.
Seriously. So we are looking at a July 2026 Economist YouGov poll, and it found that nearly half of all Americans, 49%, believe the U.S. government should enforce an international criminal court arrest warrant for Netanyahu if he steps foot on American soil.
That is just a massive number.
Right. Only 27% said no, and 22% were unsure.
What's fascinating here is, well, it's the legal and diplomatic architecture behind those numbers.
How so?
Well, to truly understand why a 49% plurality is so staggering, you have to look at the mechanism of that warrant.
Right. Yeah.
In November 2024, the International Criminal Court, the ICC, officially issued an arrest warrant for Netanyahu. And the charges are incredibly severe.
Yeah, they accuse him of using starvation as a method of warfare, right?
Exactly. That and committing crimes against humanity in Gaza.
But wait, I'm stuck on a core technicality here.
Okay, what is it?
Because neither the United States nor Israel actually recognizes the ICC's authority. I mean, neither country has ratified the Rome Statute, which is, the court's founding treaty.
Right, neither of them are members.
So how can an international court issue a binding warrant for the leader of a non-member state?
You're hitting on the exact legal gray area that makes this so insanely complicated.
Okay.
So the ICC operates on territorial jurisdiction. Even though Israel isn't a member, the state of Palestine was recognized as a non-member observer state by the UN.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and it officially acceded to the Rome Statute back in 2015. Therefore, the ICC asserts that it has jurisdiction over any alleged crimes committed within Palestinian territories, regardless of the nationality of the accused.
Wow. So legally, it's a contested mandate, but politically, it's a whole different story.
Precisely. We're talking about nearly half of the American public wanting their own government to execute a legally contested international arrest warrant on a sitting prime minister of a nation that has historically been one of America's closest allies.
It's wild.
It really shows that for a massive swath of the electorate, the traditional diplomatic consensus has just entirely evaporated.
And what's really wild is watching how a toothless global mandate trickles down to cause absolute chaos in, local municipal politics.
Oh, you mean in New York?
Yeah. This isn't just an abstract polling metric. It is creating real-world friction right now. Case in point, Netanyahu's upcoming trip to the United Nations General Assembly in New York this September.
Yeah, the situation in New York is basically a perfect microcosm of this broader national fracture.
It really is. So Zoran Mamdani, the mayor of New York City, recently released a video explicitly pledging to arrest Netanyahu if he sets foot in the city.
Which is quite the statement for a New York mayor.
Totally. And Mondani, who openly identifies as an anti-Zionist, meaning he opposes the political ideology of Jewish nationalism that led to the creation of the State of Israel, he branded the prime minister a war criminal and declared him not welcome.
And, as the Times of Israel reported, that specific video triggered a massive, immediate outcry from prominent Jewish leaders across New York.
Right.
They viewed the mayor's rhetoric as, dangerously inflammatory.
But here's where I want to push back on the significance of this.
Okay, go ahead.
Because Mamdani admitted in that very same announcement that the NYPD doesn't actually have the legal authority to execute an ICC warrant.
Right, they don't.
So isn't this just pure political theater? I mean, it feels like a local town sheriff holding a press conference to threaten a visiting foreign monarch.
That's a really good analogy.
If the jurisdiction isn't there, and everyone involved knows it isn't there, why are we paying attention to this local grandstanding?
Well, it is absolutely political theater. But we have to look at why that specific theater is politically effective for a mayor in New York City.
Okay, why is it?
Because of what it represents about changing demographics. New York City has the largest Jewish population in the world outside of Israel.
Right, it's a huge constituency.
Exactly. Decades ago, a New York mayor aggressively antagonizing an Israeli prime minister would have been instant political suicide.
Sure.
But the demographics of the Jewish American community are shifting, particularly along generational lines.
We have the data to back that up, right?
We do. An AP NRC poll released this month reveals something really counterintuitive to historical norms. Mayor Mamdani actually holds a 44% favorability rating among U.S. Jews.
Wait, really? 44%?
Yes.
And Netanyahu's favorability in that same demographic?
It sits at just 32%.
Wow.
So when you call it political theater, you aren't wrong. But it is a performance carefully calibrated for a constituency that is increasingly disillusioned with Israeli leadership.
That makes a lot of sense.
And we know it's hitting a nerve at the highest levels because it's how Netanyahu responded.
Right, he didn't brush it off at all.
Not even a little. He went on Fox News this Tuesday and gave a highly charged interview. He called Mamdani hate-spewing and asked, "What are we in the 1930s?"
That was intense.
He directly accused the mayor of turning people against New York Jews. The fact that a global head of state is engaging in a bitter war of words with a municipal mayor on American cable news, well, it shows you how seriously Netanyahu is taking this PR hit.
Which brings us back to the core premise of that Franklin Foer article in The Atlantic.
Right, the PR angle.
Yeah. If there is one thing Benjamin Netanyahu has been known for historically, it is his absolute mastery of public relations in America. How did he lose the room so completely?
Foer's piece offers a really vital historical framework for that, which, by the way, the Geopolitics Reddit board was tearing apart and debating all week long.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Foer points out that Netanyahu's relationship with America isn't just political, it's the very foundation of his career.
Going all the way back to 1982.
Exactly. He's brought to Washington as a deputy by the Israeli ambassador.
Yeah.
And Netanyahu grew up in the suburbs of Philadelphia, so he speaks perfect, unaccented American English.
Which was a huge asset.
A massive asset. And he instantly realizes how to play the American media apparatus. He becomes a constant, commanding fixture on shows like Nightline and Larry King Live.
Right. He basically became the undisputed face of Israel for American living rooms.
For 4 decades. Through countless different political offices, Netanyahu viewed himself as the ultimate, irreplaceable guardian of Israel's standing in America.
And Foer's ultimate thesis is that today, as Israel's longest-serving prime minister, Netanyahu has failed at that specific lifelong mission.
But I want to inject some of the counter-arguments we saw on the Geopolitics Reddit threads.
Oh, please do. Those were fascinating.
Yeah, because a lot of users found Foer's premise a bit too focused on one individual. Isn't attributing this massive geopolitical shift to one, quote-unquote, great man failing at public relations, I mean, isn't that an outdated way of looking at history?
It's a very fair critique.
Let me offer an analogy based on what the Reddit users were saying.
Okay, let's hear it.
Think of Netanyahu's PR strategy like legacy software. It's like he's running a highly optimized marketing program built for Windows 95, the broadcast TV era, where 3 network anchors controlled the global narrative.
I see where you're going with this.
Right. But the global media ecosystem has upgraded to a decentralized, peer-to-peer network of smartphones and TikTok.
Yeah.
His old code simply cannot execute on modern hardware. I mean, you cannot market a brutal, grinding war when Americans are watching raw, unfiltered footage of it daily on their phones.
That structural argument was heavily represented in the Reddit debates. The idea is that in an era of decentralized media and instant satellite communications, state-sponsored public relations simply cannot control a narrative anymore.
Exactly.
The medium changed, so the old message control just vanished.
But Ford pushes back on that structural argument in the article, doesn't he?
Yeah. He does, yeah. Ford argues that while the media landscape definitely changed, it was Netanyahu's specific personal choices that actively alienated allies.
So it wasn't just the medium, it was the man.
Right. Now, Ford carefully stipulates in the piece that anti-Semitism absolutely exists, and it accounts for a severe double standard by which Israel is routinely judged on the global stage.
Right, he definitely acknowledges that bias.
Yes, but Ford argues that anti-Semitism is not the principal reason that formerly supportive Americans now view Israel as a political liability.
What does he blame it on then?
He points to Netanyahu's own rhetoric, his decision to align himself with far-right authoritarian figures globally, and his specific military choices in Gaza.
Which Ford argues actively fueled the perception that his government is indifferent to Palestinian suffering.
Exactly.
So to synthesize those two views, the structural media changes meant the world was going to see everything, but Netanyahu's personal political choices dictated what they were actually seeing.
I think that's the most accurate way to merge the Atlantic's analysis with the Reddit community's critique.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And what's crucial to understand is that the political fallout from those choices isn't isolated to just one side of the ideological spectrum.
Right, it's not just the left.
No.
Yeah.
It's very easy to look at Mayor Mondani or the campus protests and assume this backlash is solely a left-wing phenomenon. But the polling data reveals a truly bipartisan fracture.
Let's start by looking at the left, because the shift there is historic and it's super measurable.
Definitely.
Ford notes that support for Israel used to be a completely bipartisan reflex in Washington. But fast forward to April 2026, and you have 40 out of 47 Democratic senators voting to block arms sales to Israel.
Which is just wild to think about.
It includes most of the presidential aspirants in the Democratic caucus.
Yeah.
And looking back at that July YouGov poll, 68% of Democrats support arresting Netanyahu, and a massive 71% believe he is guilty of war crimes.
Those numbers represent the total collapse of the traditional pro-Israel consensus on the American left.
They really do.
But what I find even more structurally significant is what is happening on the American right.
Okay, let's talk about the right.
Historically, the Republican Party, which was driven by neoconservative foreign policy, has been in absolute lockstep with the Israeli government.
Yes, the neoconservative alignment, which for decades was all about projecting American moral and democratic values abroad through strong military alliances.
Exactly.
But the Atlantic piece highlighted a recent incident that shows how rapidly that is eroding. Vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance recently went on Joe Rogan's podcast and made some claims that were just stunning to read.
Yeah, they were definitely surprising.
He baselessly linked the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein to the highest levels of Israeli intelligence, and he accused Israel of actively scheming to undermine U.S. diplomatic efforts with Iran.
To put the gravity of that into perspective, a decade ago, a Republican politician going on a massive platform and trafficking in conspiracy theories about Israeli intelligence, well, they would have been drummed out of the party by the end of the news cycle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Today, the person doing it is next in line to lead the presidential ticket.
So what does this all mean? We are seeing the progressive left rebel on humanitarian and international law grounds.
Right.
And at the exact same time, we are seeing the populist right rebel, but they are doing it on isolationist and conspiratorial grounds.
Yes.
They are replacing that old neoconservative doctrine with an America First transactionalism that basically views all foreign alliances with deep suspicion.
That is exactly the dynamic. You have a pincer movement of opposition from the populist right and the progressive left.
Right.
And it's basically squeezing the traditional centrist consensus completely out of existence.
But I have to bring up a highly contested point from the 538 Reddit thread that challenges this whole narrative.
Oh, this was a really good point.
Yeah, a user pointed out that the United States sends massive amounts of military and financial aid to Saudi Arabia.
Which is true.
And Saudi Arabia is currently implicated in a devastating conflict and a massive humanitarian crisis in Sudan. Yet, we do not see anywhere near this level of voter scrutiny.
No, we really
We
don't.
don't see boycotts, we don't see college encampments, and we certainly don't see local mayors threatening to arrest Saudi royals.
Yeah.
Why is Israel facing this unique, hyper-focused level of pressure? Is it just about the sheer volume of U.S. tax dollars involved, or is there a genuine double standard at play here?
It's a vital question,
Yeah.
and it speaks to how the American public processes foreign policy.
Oh, okay. How so?
Well, part of the answer lies in the deep, unique integration of Israel into American domestic politics, an integration that Netanyahu himself helped engineer over his 40-year career.
It's the furniture salesman's legacy.
Precisely. When a foreign nation is that deeply embedded in your own political identity, when it is treated not just as a transactional partner like Saudi Arabia, but as an ideological extension of American values, the backlash when things go wrong is exponentially louder.
Because it feels closer to home.
Exactly. A transactional partner misbehaving doesn't violate your own sense of moral identity. An ideological partner does. But to truly understand the voter scrutiny, we have to look past the rhetoric and dig into the polling data regarding actual policy in Gaza.
Okay, walk me through the numbers. What did the Economist YouGov poll reveal about policy preferences?
Well, they asked Americans a very stark question. Would you support or oppose removing all Palestinians from Gaza?
Okay, and the results?
Overall, 41% of Americans oppose the idea, and only 19% support it. As you would expect, very few Democrats or independents support removal.
Right.
But the data gets incredibly revealing when you look at the split on the political right.
You're talking about the Magier versus non-Magier Republican divide.
Yes, exactly. Among Magier Republicans, a full 51% support the removal of all Palestinians from Gaza.
Wow.
But among non-Magier Republicans, that number plummets to just 23%.
That is a staggering divide within a single political party over a major foreign policy crisis.
It is. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it demonstrates that the American foreign policy consensus hasn't just broken down between the Democratic and Republican parties.
Right.
It has completely shattered within them. You have progressive Democrats at war with centrist Democrats over arms embargoes, and you have populist Magier Republicans completely divided from traditional establishment Republicans on the realities on the ground in Gaza.
It is a total fragmentation. And that brings us to the ultimate takeaway. Why does this deep dive, with all its polls and historical analyses, matter to you listening right now?
That's the million-dollar question.
Because it's so easy to dismiss this as distant geopolitical theory, right? A poll over here, a Reddit debate over there, a local mayor making a performative speech.
But it isn't distant. The underlying mechanics of this shift affect the structural integrity of American governance.
Exactly. This is about how your tax dollars are being leveraged abroad. It's about how your local politicians are calibrating their campaigns based on changing neighborhood demographics. It is about your country's foreign policy actively shifting under your feet, moving away from decades of predictability into something highly volatile. We are witnessing a historic break in an alliance that has anchored the Middle East for over half a century.
And the broader polling numbers confirm that the public senses this break. According to that July YouGov poll, 47% of all Americans, and that includes 61% of Democrats and 30% of Republicans, now believe that Netanyahu's actions have actively damaged relations between the U.S. and Israel.
That's huge.
You have nearly half the country explicitly blaming the prime minister for the deterioration of the alliance.
Which leaves us with one final, lingering thought to ponder long after this deep dive ends.
What is it?
If this massive fracture in the U.S. Israel relationship is tied so deeply to Benjamin Netanyahu's personal brand, his specific rhetoric and his strategic choices over the last 40 years, what happens to the alliance the day after he leaves office?
That raises a really important question about the permanence of what we are seeing. Are we looking at a temporary political dispute or a structural paradigm shift?
Right. Will a post-Netanyahu Israel instantly regain the American support it once had?
Yeah.
Will a new face and a new government in Jerusalem be enough to reset the political code?
It's hard to say.
Or has the American electorate, influenced by decentralized media, shifting demographics, and a new era of populist isolationism, fundamentally and permanently changed how it views the Middle East? Has the ultimate salesman's legacy permanently altered the market?
It's a question that foreign policy experts will be trying to answer for the next decade.
That's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Keep questioning the consensus, keep digging into the data, and we'll catch you next time.